I would say, I only drink at work, I only have a couple of drinks, but I started blacking out. And I would say to my friends, why did you let me do that? They said, well, you seemed like you were okay. When I was 7 years old, my dad died. He was an alcoholic. Then when I was 12 years old, my mom died of diabetes. A lot of abandonment that I never really looked at, because what do? You just have to keep going in life. My mom, we thought we were really cool because she would make us little wine spritzers when she was still alive. And I thought later, that's not very smart. Why are you giving your 10 or 11-year-old wine spritzers? My mom would say, you're grounded for a week. And you know, the next day we're out playing. So through much of my 20s, I didn't drink a lot. I had 4 kids in that time. We owned a business. The business went bankrupt. And the day the business went bankrupt, I hadn't drank for over 5 years. And I sat down at the restaurant I worked at and said, I need a glass of wine. And the bartender said, oh my God, what's wrong? I was a born-again Christian, so that meant I couldn't smoke dope, because that's totally not acceptable, right? But you could drink, because there's questions about drinking. I went into the restaurant business. I was very successful. I was a really good waitress and a really good cocktail waitress, because I could get people to buy all kinds of stuff. And the higher their ticket is, the more money you make. I had a repressed memory of sexual abuse from my dad at 3. I cried and I said, I forgive him and it's okay. No, not really. That's really not how you do it. My marriage fell apart. We began to see a marital counselor. I sat in her office and said, I forgave him and it's all good. She's just kind of taking inventory. What do you see your options as? I can stay married and be miserable, or I can get divorced, but be happier, but way guilty. So about 6 months later, I went into the hospital. I went in because I had multiple episodes at that point, binges, because I would say, I only drink at work, I only have a couple of drinks. I went into the hospital, not because I was an alcoholic, but I went into the hospital because I was drinking every time I went to a counseling session. That enabled me to kind of begin to think, oh, people can have a drink or two and stop. I don't have a stop button. I go until I can't go anymore, or the safe thing in the restaurant business was I'd get cut off. So I really started working on my dad's stuff, but at the same time, owning that I was an alcoholic. Everyone I worked with drank. They're like, you're not an alcoholic, you're just going through a bad time. I was like, I don't think so. I was back cocktailing in a fine dining restaurant, and one of the bartenders was really puzzled, and he said, I don't understand. You seem to be really cool. You're not too religious or anything, but you don't drink. That was my moment of clarity, and that was the moment that I felt like my alcoholism was solidified. I said, you're right. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I want to stay that way. So when I stepped through the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous, I said, this is a blueprint. 1, 2, 3 is like, I can't do life on my own. I need a higher power. This is my higher power, but then I had to do step 4. Step 4 is that personal inventory, identifying your character defects based on my own interpretation of things that were morally right and not right. The questionnaire that I filled out was about jealousy. Are you jealous of people? And I was like, no. Oh yeah, I am. I'm really jealous of my neighbor. She has 5 kids and she's a stay-at-home mom. And I always wanted to be a stable home mom. Other emotions, other character defects, and really begin to identify those and then own them. And let you own what's yours or not. That's not part of what I have to do. Taking credit for things you did right and blaming for things you did wrong. I would always credit other people and I would always blame other people. But it also gave me permission to own my wins and to own the things that I could get credit for. We think that if I'm going to hold you accountable, it means I'm going to let you know everything you're doing wrong, but not the other stuff. But it's not true. And once I was solidified in my sobriety, and it was about 6 months after I got out of treatment, ended up the marriage didn't work out, but we shared custody of the kids. It was really important to me and to my ex-husband that we both are still active in their lives. And so both of us really were. Another thing that I learned in sobriety was that if I was going to set consequences. This is what's going to happen if you, or consequences in the moment. So what I learned in sobriety was, I have to make sure any consequence I give is a consequence I can enforce. And when I said something was going to happen, then it did. You know, setting goals is really hard because we want the moon. But we have to set shorter goals. As my kids grew into teenagers, we had substance abuse problems, drinking and marijuana. 2 of them did treatment, one in a hospital because he ran away and then he threatened to drive the wrong way down an on-ramp and take people with him. So he did inpatient for a week and outpatient for 3. But he also had really good role models. The year after I got sober, my ex-husband got sober. So we're both living a sober life. And then my youngest went through treatment, outpatient treatment, because he was smoking a lot of dope. They learned in those treatment centers, but more importantly, I think they learned from their dad and I how to do life on life's terms, why all those sayings that I learned in sitting in those rooms take effect. Wherever you go, there you are. You take you with you. Because it's too hard to blame yourself because you already feel like such a failure. There are people who do bad things. And there's a big difference between being bad and doing bad. If I behave differently, I'm not doing bad, but no matter what, I am not bad. By owning that stuff, then you can say, I think I can change that behavior. I could go out and go dancing and not have any risk of alcohol use. It's just not even a question. It just isn't. So when I go out with people, I'm always a designated driver. Everybody's safe. I had a hard time understanding relapse. Why people relapse, I didn't get it. We were on a business trip with my current husband and his boss. He was French, and the French like to drink, and so did his boss. So we had breakfast. Breakfast was great. After breakfast, we're sitting out on the front of the boat. We were camping lakeside, and he had a boat, and he brought out the cheese and crackers and wine. And so we had white wine and red wine and different wines, some Cabernet and some Merlot. And I said, here, let me smell that. I bet I can tell you what it is. And I took a whiff of it, and I went, my brain went, I bet I could probably take a drink of that now. 18 years. I had 18 years sobriety. And I looked at my husband, and he looked at me. And I'm like, here, you can have your wine back. I'm going to go downstairs and help the other woman do the dishes. And I went to a meeting, and I was like, it can happen anytime. 18 years, solid sobriety. And my brain said, I think maybe I could take a drink. We just keep walking the walk, one foot in front of the other. Today I have 4 grown sons, all of them married. All of them have struggled in relationship, because if you're married, you struggle in relationship. That's how it works. But I'm continually able to share my experience, strength, and hope through life in sobriety. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I want to stay that way.
Detox to Rehab wants to help as many people as possible and do it the right way. Please subscribe, comment, and like our channel. Thank you for watching.